Ukraine needs an anti-corruption court. Both domestic and foreign experts have long been talking about the need to create such an independent institution. Meanwhile, the government continues its anti-corruption reform initiative.
It is absolutely necessary to establish as quickly as possible, without any delay, anti-corruption court.
An anti-corruption court is the final institution that should, to the fullest extent, adjust the work of anti-corruption bodies and gain the highest possible level of public trust. The situation is such that when a new body in the form of NABU was established, the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office appeared. But those criminal proceedings against top corrupt officials were to be considered by courts of first instance, which had not yet been reformed at the time. Moreover, they would be reformed in only 3 or maybe 5 years. And that is not good. Accordingly, those cases submitted to the courts of instance would be just subject to consideration by anti-corruption courts. In a year and a half of operation of the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, 65 entrepreneurs were sent to court. There are criminal cases, hearings of which have not taken place for over 14 months, which is practically since the beginning of the establishment of the anti-corruption body. The reasons for this vary and are usually legal, says Nazar Kolodnitsky, head of the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office. For example, there is no judge quota, or the judge fell ill, or the attorney did not show up in court, or the defendant did not appear in court. Over 40% of hearings did not take place exactly for those reasons. Not a single hearing was thwarted by the prosecutor. Public prosecution does everything possible for the hearings to take place, the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office emphasized. But all these circumstances, judicial reform, judicial overload, lack of personnel, delaying the hearings of certain industries, reluctance to hear one or another case because of their resonance or the subjectivity of the accused persons. All that together shows that the drawing of legal verdict takes it an extremely long and drawn-out process. I am not suggesting that those should only be convictions. They could also be acquittals, but we simply cannot get legal verdicts on our proceedings. According to experts, the expectations of society within respect of the work of anti-corruption bodies are extremely high. That is why citizens complain about the lack of sentences being passed down against high-standing government officials. The establishment of anti-corruption court will provide us with many opportunities. First, the acceleration of our proceedings. Second, ensuring independence and closing the system of anti-corruption bodies that have to take the final decision in those proceedings. Because neither the NABU nor the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office do that. The work of the NABU and the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office is quite effective today, says expert Markian Halabala. Nevertheless, not everything depends on them. We need to actively implement reforms in the state and fight corruption at all levels of government. So what misleads society? The fact that the work of the NABU and the SAPO are not the sole means of fighting corruption, because a lot of things in the state depend on settling various economic problems, political problems, and the problems of the functioning of public authorities by virtue of ordinary laws in order to prevent manifestations of corruption. The success of anti-corruption reform will help attract foreign investors to the country, which will contribute to the economic and social development of the state, experts emphasize.
As long as foreign investors do not feel that there is a rule of law in this country, it will be difficult to get a significant increase in foreign private investment. This means that you need anti-corruption courts. Judges have to be recruited in a transparent and fair way to reduce the level of corruption in the judiciary. The reform of the judicial system has to be pursued. And it is as well very important to maintain the macroeconomic stability.
In order to establish an anti-corruption court, it is necessary to prepare a legislative base. Recently, the relevant bill was registered in the Verkhovna Rada. Nevertheless, the Committee on Justice Issues considers certain norms of it to be such that they do not comply with the Constitution of Ukraine. Therefore, the document was rejected and sent back out of the parliament for revision. In the meantime, anti-corruption institutions continue to work effectively within the bounds of their authority. I cannot hang a lock on the door of my prosecutor's office and say that I am not going to work until there is a court, but you keep paying my salary. Isn't that the case? That's why we yet again ask and even demand that you establish such a court, and it is simply imperative. Since ordinary everyday issues exist alongside legislative ones, simply drafting a bill does not yet mean that it will immediately help achieve the set goals. Experts claim that nobody in Ukraine no longer doubts the need to create an anti-corruption court. However, this requires that the following steps are taken: pass the bill, select the most honest and worthy judges through an open and transparent tender, and provide them with offices and equipment. European experience shows that the countries in which anti-corruption courts function well, such as Slovakia and Croatia, have a much lower level of corruption. Accordingly, the economies of those countries develop more efficiently and effectively, which almost automatically means that the well-being of their citizens improves.